All right, so in this screencast, we're going to take a look at components that can run right on the web without transpiling with Babel and Webpack, uh, but similar in some ways to the components that we can create with React.js and Vue. So we can take a look really quick at our code here. For on the left, we have lit HTML, and on the right, we have lighter HTML. In both cases, we're loading the HTML object right off the web there, and then we are using the component object from Haunted, uh, which also has a React style hooks type feature, but that we can take a peek at later. For right now, we're looking at just a simple component. In each case, we have some HTML and style tag included. So right there, that actually is a a whole component by itself. Now we're using the custom elements keyword, and we're taking these components via Haunted, and we're just placing them here um, on the web. So we're going to take a look here at these particular pages. So polar bear and blue whale. So as you can see, each of these have their styling, a little bit of minimal styling on the header text and that kind of thing. So what these offer is scoped styling and a component structure. So the way as you can see, this type of syntax. Let's take a look at this. This is what's referred to as tag templates syntax. So it comes from the template literals, or sometimes known as template strings, from ES 2015 ES6. So the simplest version of it, as you can see here, is just writing down a string and putting it in backticks. But as you move down there, you can see that it can also be used to interpolate a JavaScript variable. So here, or you could put in actually some kind of code, like in form of an expression, like it implies there. So let's look at this article on Mozilla Hacks that discusses this a little more. Now we don't have time to necessarily read this entire article right here on the screencast, but you might want to circle back to it. But when we scroll down a bit, we actually find something that, although it's a hypothetical example, this starts looking like our lit HTML and our lighter HTML components right there. And so another thing it might look like too, if you are using React.js, is styled components. Now, styled components uses a similar type of syntax. Now, this is for creating a component and embedding, in this case, CSS styling. And this is one way to style a React.js component. As we know, there's inline styling. There's many other ways. One of the ways that I want to point out is styled JSX. So if you remember from our code a few minutes ago, where we have the style tag at the bottom, this is somewhat similar, although they're using the JSX attribute, and then because it's JSX, we're seeing this beginning brace and then backtick, and then it's basically just CSS though at the bottom. So in that sense, what we're getting from these lit HTML with Haunted, or lighter HTML with Haunted components, is similar, where we can put the style tag down there at the bottom. Okay, so React.js and Vue.js are both very popular front-end frameworks, and they both have a lot of great features actually. And there's a lot of different reasons to adopt maybe one or the other, but React, usually you're looking at a build system being part of it, because the JSX needs to be transpiled in some way. So a lot of people might use something like roll up with it, or they might use something like a Babel and Webpack kind of setup. But in either case, we're looking at code that gets transpiled before it actually gets able to be read by a browser. Now, Vue.js, as they say, incrementally adoptable. In a lot of cases, you're going to be able to put a Vue.js component just on a web page. Now it will also be part of build systems in some cases, but it doesn't need transpiling because you're using HTML templating and stuff like that inside it instead of JSX in most use cases for Vue.js. So what we're getting from these types of components is something where we can just put this directly on the web without having any kind of transpiling. And it's actually kind of similar to what we can do with Preact. So let's take a look at that. Let's see if we can actually move. So right here, okay. So this, as you can see, this is a little bit different because we're not writing this as well. Here, we'll compare it to these where the lit.html and lighterhtml. These are written as functions, and this using the class keyword, and so that's how we're actually including the component, and we're getting this from Preact. But as you can see, we are able to actually just although we're using their objects, and this is a little bit different, we're able to both put in the HTML and the CSS, and we'll take a look at the code example there, but it works in a very similar way. So look at that. So Haunted also does have, as we've mentioned, a similar feature to React hooks. So we do have an example where instead of this here with just the component, we're actually including the use state functionality. So let's take a look actually at that code. And as you can see, it allows that component, that fairly simple but illustrative component, to be created. But also, we are able to create this counter with the use state.